Posted by Haunting Lime 6836.
My wife, 32F, and I, 34M, have been married for 6 years, together for 10. We have a 4-year-old son. A few years ago, my close childhood friend, 34F, got married. We've been extremely close since we were kids. Both our families were dysfunctional in different ways. At one point, my dad cheated on my mom with her mom. They got married, divorced a year later, and we basically ended up abandoned by both sides. Through all that, we became really close with each other. She even has 2 tattoos that relate to our bond. I would have gotten a tattoo too, but I'm sort of scared of needles. My wife was actually close to my friend too, and never showed signs of being insecure about our friendship until postpartum hit. After our son was born, she really struggled. Her emotions were all over the place, and she became extremely insecure about my relationship with my friend. I was supposed to be man of honor at my friend's wedding, help plan things, and be a big part of the ceremony. But my wife was so anxious and uncomfortable, she begged me not to attend. It made me really sad, but I chose my wife. I told my friend I couldn't go, and told her why. She was really hurt by it. Not angry, just really sad, but said she understood. A couple months later, my wife fully recovered and apologized, both to me and to my friend. I forgave her. My friend, however, didn't. When my wife reached out to my friend to apologize, my friend was polite but direct. She said she never wanted to speak to her again. She didn't yell or make a scene. She just drew a boundary. Honestly, I get it. It was a once-in-a-lifetime day, and she'd leaned on me for years, and I bailed. I still feel guilty about it. My friend and I still talk regularly. Nothing inappropriate, we're just close, always have been. Recently, my wife asked if there was any chance my friend would forgive her. I told her the truth. No. That ship sailed. My wife got sort of quiet and looked sad and hasn't brought it up again, but I wonder if I was too blunt. AITA for not giving my wife hope and just telling her forgiveness probably isn't happening.
My best friend's engagement party, and I might have just ruined her entire future. Chloe, my ride or die, has been meticulously planning this epic surprise engagement for her boyfriend, Liam. I've been her secret weapon for months, hiding rings, faking dinner plans, the whole elaborate charade. The party is next weekend. The secret was sacred, but then, last month, my entire world shifted. I landed my dream job overseas. This wasn't just a job, it was the culmination of years of relentless effort, a life-altering opportunity. I called Chloe, my voice trembling with pure elation, expecting her to share in my joy, to scream with me. Her response? A flat, "Oh, that's cool." Anyway, about the seating chart for Liam's party. It was a gut punch. She didn't just brush it off, she erased it. My monumental news, reduced to an inconvenient interruption. The sting was deep, a wound I didn't realize I was carrying. Here's the kicker. Liam had been offered a massive promotion in that exact overseas city months ago. Chloe had been secretly pushing him to take it, but wanted to keep it a secret from everyone, especially his family, until after the engagement. A grand, joint future reveal she'd orchestrated. My job news directly clashed with her carefully controlled narrative. Her dismissal of my news now felt like a calculated move to maintain her iron grip on their future. Yesterday, Liam was confiding in me, frustrated by Chloe's extreme secrecy, saying she was acting distant and evasive about his career and their future. The hurt from her dismissal, combined with the unsettling realization of her deeper manipulation, was simmering. And then, in a moment of raw, unthinking impulse, the words just spilled out. Well, maybe if she wasn't so obsessed with her big plans and secretly moving you across the world, she wouldn't be so secretive about your surprise engagement party. Liam's face crumpled from confusion to utter devastation, not just about the party, but about the revelation of Chloe's long-term manipulation regarding his career and their entire future. The secret, shattered. Chloe's call was a torrent of absolute fury. She accused me of deliberate sabotage, of betraying her trust and destroying everything. I tried to explain the ache of feeling invisible, that my slip was a desperate cry for her to see me, to acknowledge my life, and that her manipulation was wrong. Now, our entire friend group is a war zone. Some brand me a monster, others claim Chloe's deceit had it coming. So, TikTok, am I the asshole here? Was my pain an excuse for such a colossal mistake, exposing her deeper secrets? Or was Chloe's manipulative planning and dismissiveness the real betrayal, pushing me to a breaking point?
Posted by Jim Matthias, Runkle. I'll try to keep this short. I had a 1967 Impala 4-door that I bought in February 2019. A couple months ago, I bought my first house that had a 2.5 car garage. I moved the car in and started tearing it down for a complete restoration. I had the body in one bay and the chassis in another, plus the whole garage filled with parts. About 2 months ago, my girlfriend came to live with me during this whole crisis, and the whole time has hated that car. She wants to park in the garage, but I have 2 acres of land with a lot of nice places to park under shady trees, or hell, even in the barn, if it has to be inside. I tell her tough luck, it's my house, and it's not, like I can just throw it back together real quick. Anyways, I was out of town for a couple days on a business trip for the small local company I work for. When I got back, my girlfriend was all smiles, making me food all the time, doing all the chores, all that. I thought that maybe she just was happy to have me home, but then I realized that I didn't see her car in its usual spot. I asked her where she parked so I could make sure I mow that area and keep it clean, and she said not to worry because she parked in the garage. I asked how, and she told me to go check it out. Turns out that while I was gone, she hired some people to come over and move everything related to that car, including the drivetrain, body, and chassis and all parts, and take it to the local dump sawmill scrapyard. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I had spent over $11,000 on that car, including new parts, services, and the car itself. I told her that I was going to be taking her to court for that, and she brushed me off like I was being dramatic. I told her that it's done between us and to pack her things and leave. I admit, I was really angry, but I did end up getting a lawyer, and as I have all the receipts for all that money spent, and I have her on my house's security cam footage letting the guys in and watching them take it all, I think I can win. Her family and friends are absolutely blowing me up, saying it's just a stupid old piece of junk and that she cannot pay back all that money I spent and that I should just let it go. But I have been putting all my time, effort, and money into that car for 1.5 years now, and god damn it if I am not going to get justice for what she did. AITA update. Went to the police station last night, was told to come back in the morning. Just got back and filed an official report against her for grand larceny and grand theft auto. I showed them all the receipts I had for the car and the footage of her letting the guys come and take it, as well as the title for the vehicle in my name. They said they will be in contact with all 3 parties, me, XGF, and Junkyard Guys, soon, and they will hopefully be able to recover some or all of the car. Just have to wait. Now, second update, they found my goddamn car. The Junkyard Guys apparently were in the middle of hiding it. When the police came to ask them questions, it was on a forklift and they were going to put it on top of a pile of cars that was hidden behind more piles of cars. They said it was theirs and they had the title, but obviously didn't have the title for it. And since they matched the VIN on the chassis and body to the VIN on my title, it was obviously mine. I know at least one person there has been arrested. I think he was in the camera footage I talked about earlier, but IDK, if it was the boss or whomever, or even his specific charge, they also told me they would be looking into this specific junkyard for any other vehicles reported stolen. They said they haven't been able to get in contact with my ex just yet, but they're working on it. I'm just so glad they found my car. Luckily, I made quite an album of pictures detailing me tearing down the car, and so I can use that to prove what parts they had were mine, so I can hopefully get most or all of it back. Police haven't let me take it back home yet, as they say it is evidence or something, so hopefully I can get it back eventually. Thank you all so much for the support and advice. She's gonna be alright.
Posted by Mountain.824 I42M. Have 2 kids living with me, my daughter Anya, 17F, and my stepson Noah, 14M. Noah's mom passed a few years ago, and I've had full custody since. He's had a rough go of it, but he's a good kid, with his quirks. He's not antisocial or shy, but he does not appreciate having his space invaded, and when very upset, he can kinda shut down. Anya is much more outgoing and has a lot of friends. She asked to have a sleepover this weekend with 4 of them. I said yes, of course. But given that the friends who were coming were pretty loud and have a tendency to crowd Noah, I told her to make sure they don't go into her brother's room. Also, to keep things down after 11, so that the house can sleep. In my opinion, These are not strict rules. To my surprise, I came upstairs to check on them at about 10:30. They are 17. I didn't think I needed to check on them every hour or something. And they were in Noah's room. And they looked like they'd been there a while. Two were literally sitting on his bed, with him there. One of them was flipping through his sketchbook. Another was messing with his other stuff. And they were all kind of giggling in this weird way. Noah was clearly upset. He didn't say anything move, but there were tears in his eyes, and he didn't respond when I tried to talk to him. I told the girls to get out right then, and that I was calling every single one of their parents. Anya was pretty upset with me, but I told her that I gave them 2 rules, and they failed spectacularly. I did actually call all of their parents and sent them home as soon as possible. Anya blew up, saying I embarrassed her. I told her to go to her room and that we would speak on this in the morning. I spent about 20 minutes with Noah before he decided he wanted to cool down on his own, and I went back to my daughter, who chose not to speak to me. It's late, both of my kids are, hopefully, asleep, and I'm left not knowing if I handled things right. AITA?
I, 55F, have been married to my husband and my daughter's stepdad, 63 Annan, for 4 years. My 23U daughter and I have a complicated relationship. She has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. She has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. When she told me she was being bullied by peers, my view that all children are innocents really tied my hands because I told her that if I said anything to them, I would be an adult harassing a child. She has blamed me for that ever since. And keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact that she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part, not all, of my response was telling her to take a shower and I bought her new clothes. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and a suspension for the ringleaders. She still throws the fact that a school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid, she'd have permission to punch back if administrators didn't do anything. I thought that having her live with me while she finishes school and gets a job would help heal some childhood wounds if my second husband and I modeled a healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my husband. She is a very introverted, creative person who likes immersing herself in escapism. So she'd get annoyed if she was sitting eating alone, and my husband would sit across from her and eat, saying she ate later so she could eat alone. However, my husband started acting distant from me, and my daughter complained that his eyes lingered for too long. She got very angry, and there was a lot of shouting and slamming of doors. Finally, my husband admitted he's attracted to her, and it's hard to be around her all day, said she was walking temptation, and said that's why he was avoiding sex with me. I was so upset to hear this. I don't blame my daughter for this, but at the same time, the situation has become unbearable. Something would have to give, and I couldn't collect my thoughts with both of them still being in the house. So I gave my daughter money to stay at an extended stay hotel and asked her to utilize her college's emergency financial and housing resources they have for students in need. She responded by storming out and telling my ex, who is now circling social media, using it to paint me as the villain of all villains. I'm not abandoning my daughter. She qualifies for those resources anyway since my ex is unemployed and we are in substantial debt. I just need time to process the situation and don't want to leave my house to stay with my daughter when I have a marriage to figure out whether or not to save. AITA?
My brother-in-law, Sammy, lost his home shortly after his divorce 10 months ago. He moved in with us and brought his twin daughters, Olivia and Sloane, 18, with him a couple of months ago. His sister, my wife, and I have one daughter, Zoe, 16, and she and her cousins aren't close, but get along fine. Olivia and Sloane have no respect for Zoe's privacy, none. They used to walk into her room and take everything they get their hands on, makeup, phone accessories, clothes, school laptop, etc. Zoe complained a lot, and I've already asked the girls to respect Zoe's privacy and stop taking things. My wife and Sammy saw no issue with this. After all, they're girls, and this is typical teenage girls' behavior. I completely disagreed. Last straw was when Zoe bought a $60 MAC makeup kit that looks like a paint set that she saved up for over a month, and one of the girls, Sloane, took it without permission and ruined it by mixing shades together while using it. Don't know much about makeup, but that's what Zoe said when she found the kit on her bed and was crying. I told my wife, and she said she'd ask Sloane to apologize, but I got Zoe a lock after I found she was moving valuable belongings out the house because of this incident. Sammy and his daughters saw the lock and weren't happy. The girls were extremely upset. Sammy asked about it, and I straight up told him. He said, "My daughters aren't thieves. It's normal that girls of the same age borrow each other's stuff." He said Zoe could easily get another makeup kit for $15 from Walmart and shouldn't even be buying expensive, adult makeup in the first place, and suggested my wife take care of this defect in Zoe's personality, trying to appear older than she is. He accused me of being overprotective and babying Zoe with this level of enablement. I told him this is between me and my wife, but she shamed me for putting a lock on Zoe's door for her cousins to see and preventing them from spending time, with her saying I was supposed to treat them like daughters, then demanded I remove it, but I said this lock does not get removed till her brother and his daughters are out of our house. She got mad I was implying we kick them out and said her family'll hate me for this. So I reminded her that I let Sammy and his family move in, which is something her own family refused to do. So she should start with blaming them for not taking their own son and nieces, granddaughters in. If it was, I 23 Nen was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents, and they paid for my hotel room. Only I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation. But instead, I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free. And then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the buts started. I stated the previously listed things as why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister, and she called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do. And I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now my sister is not speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing. But the pressure is getting to me. AITA. For not giving in? I know. They'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. It's barely been an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings, and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help because I'm young and single and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. Update. Well, I'm off work now so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved. They looked at my post and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here, but I told them that if they'd just listened to me to begin with, I'd have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They in turn went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been canceled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway. But my parents are arguing with my sister is blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Smole. Update. I wasn't going to update again, but here's a little more. Parents said that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again, and have. Agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying, nope, to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented. You made my day. One of my 29 male best friends, Carla, 31F, is getting married soon. It's only meant to be a small backyard type of wedding, but they've been planning it for a few months now, and originally it was supposed to be on my property. They wanted it because it's private, has lots of open space for the reception, a nice view, and the house could be used for them to get ready and stuff. Of course I said yes. She and her fiancé, Rick, were very happy. Thing is, Carla and I do have a history. We went out on and off in college, but decided to stay friends. Then I met my wife, we got married, Carla met Rick, and now here they are. Now, my wife knows I went out with Carla back in college, and she didn't care. Carla still went to our wedding and everything. I never knew if Rick was told or not. It's not my relationship, therefore not my business to say anything, so I never did. Rick found out recently, and not in the best way. Not sure how, but from what I heard from friends is that one mutual friend told him, no idea why, we used to date. Not only that, but apparently Carla said a couple years ago she was still in love with me when she was already dating Rick. Don't have actual confirmation if that's exactly what he was told. All Carla's told me is that Rick was told about our past and he's angry at her for never saying anything. It became quite a drama and didn't hear from her for over a month until now. She told me they're going to couples counseling and that the wedding is still on, but Rick requested that I not attend. It sucks, but I totally get why he wouldn't be comfortable. Then I asked the obvious question, where are they going to hold the wedding then? To my surprise, she said they still want it at our place. Rick said so too, and in my mind I'm going, he doesn't want the guy who dated his fiancée years ago at the wedding, but still wants the wedding at his house. My wife and I are expected to just not be at our home that weekend, and I told Carla no. They're going to have to find someplace else, since we're not going to simply leave our home to them for the weekend. Not only for safety reasons, but it just doesn't make sense. Rick doesn't want me around because he's not comfortable, but is comfortable enough to have their wedding at my house? They really want their wedding here, though, and because of that, I've been bugged by not only her but also Rick and some friends who think I'm being a petty asshole for not letting them have the wedding here anymore. Honestly, don't think that I am. It just doesn't make sense at all to have to leave our own place for a wedding we're no longer welcome to, and leaving our home totally vulnerable. Still, being accused of sabotaging their wedding, and Rick believes it's the least I can do after everything. AITA.
I am a nurse practitioner, and I am the primary care provider for a lot of the low-risk maternity cases at the practice where I work. I also work hand-in-hand with the doctors and midwives to create a healthy maternity, birth, and postpartum situation. My fiancé is completing her residency. We live together and have for a few years now. We aren't in any hurry to get married. We originally had plans to do so a couple of years ago, but then we got really busy for 2 years. It is driving my very religious parents crazy that their youngest son is living in sin. I don't really care. I'm an adult and I do what I want. We are getting married in June. So we are visiting my parents for Christmas. The way it came together this year, everyone is at my parents' house. So that's my folks, my 3 siblings, myself and fiancé, and 7 grandchildren. So 17 people. At dinner, my mom starts going on about how she is so glad that we are finally getting married, and she won't be embarrassed at church anymore. And my dad says how proud he is of his 3 older kids who all either waited to get married before moving in together, or got married right away after moving in together. My fiancé was getting embarrassed and I was getting mad over this stupid argument we have had too many times, and a family dinner was the last straw. I have asked them repeatedly to just accept that they cannot control how I live my life. I refuse to stay with them when I visit, even if I come alone. Hotels are just easier. So I started talking about a premature baby I had been reading about. It was almost 3 months premature and weighed about 1.6 pounds. It was super strong and healthy for being born so little, and the NICU had high hopes for the baby doing well. My mom and dad both got deer in the headlights looks on their faces. Too bad. Should not have fucked around with my fiancé's feelings. I asked about my oldest brother. He was born almost 4 months premature. Is there a chance that we could check out the family album where we keep all the records of family births and stuff? I already know my brother was over 9 pounds and almost 23 long when he was born. My grandmother told me all about it the first time my parents tried to shame me. The subject gets changed very fast. After supper, my parents told me that I should not try to embarrass them with private things that are not my concern. I told them that if I heard anything about my living arrangements ever again for the rest of my life, I would make sure to keep bringing up the fact that my mom was in her second trimester when they got married. My parents are mad at me for telling them how to behave in their own home, but my fiancé is happy that they seem to be off the subject for good. AITA?
I have a sister that's 6 years older than me. My parents for years cancel on me last min because of my sister. I have a basketball game. Ops sorry sister doesn't feel like going out. I am graduating. Ops sorry sister had a bad day at work. They have missed both major and smaller events in my life because of her meltdowns. I met the love of my life. We decided to tie the knot. From the beginning, I told my parents how I am worried my sister will ruin another special moment in my life. My mom told me over and over again it would not happen. The day of my wedding. I received a voicemail from my mom saying they couldn't come because my sister's dog was sick and she was upset. I was hurt. My best man, however, is a jokester. He took my phone, then went to my fiancé and asked if he could post a video of our wedding as a gift on social media. She loved his idea. I had no idea about it until I came home. Our honeymoon was at a lakeside cabin. No cell service. The post caption was, "My best friend. He is an amazing person even if his parents never showed up for him." Video was still pictures of us next to her parents, me on the dance floor cutting the cake, where you would normally see both parents in wedding pictures. The sound behind the video was my mom's voicemail explaining how they couldn't come because my sister's dog was sick. I came home a week later to hundreds of messages. Family. Members from both sides insisting I take it down. I was told my sister hasn't stopped crying. My mom is refusing to leave the house. I may be the A here. I didn't take it down when I got my messages. I didn't call my family back right away. I waited until my vacation time was over at work and enjoyed my time with my wife in our new home. Before I contacted anyone, my dad told me to take down the video. It was just a bad night for them, that they will make it up to me and my wife for not coming. My reply was exactly, how do you plan to make up my wedding? It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. You choose to ignore my feeling on the whole matter. Then he just repeated, he will make it up to me. I told him I would take down the video only when he made up missing my wedding. Flustered, we both hung up the phone before we both said things. We shouldn't have. Am I the A here? I could have just taken down the video.
About a week ago, my 39F family ordered Chinese food for delivery. When the delivery driver came to the door, my daughter, 16F, was taking the cat upstairs to put in her room because he always tries to eat the food. My son, 13M, loudly says, "Make sure to hide the cat from the Chinese guy," as I am at the door getting the food from the Chinese delivery driver. He very obviously heard what my son said and was upset by it. I quickly apologized and took the food. I told my son that racist jokes were completely unacceptable and very wrong, and he refused to admit that he was in the wrong. So, later that night, I forced my son to write a sincere apology to the delivery driver, his name was on the receipt, as well as write a one-page paper on Chinese culture and a one-page paper on why racism is perpetuated by racist jokes and stereotypes. Then the next day, I took him to the restaurant and had him read his apology aloud to the delivery driver, as well as give him the papers he wrote. The driver was very appreciative of the apology and thanked me for making my son do it. He then told my son about multiple instances where he had faced racist comments and attacks from people while he was a delivery driver. That night, my husband, 43M, and I got into an argument about me making our son do this. He told me that it was embarrassing for our son to have to do the apology and that the punishment didn't fit the crime. I told him that it was much more embarrassing for the driver to have to face that kind of racism and racist stereotypes, and that our son would get over the embarrassment. I do not condone any kind of hateful thinking in my house, and the fact that my son said that embarrassed me as well. My husband told me that it was just a joke, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I feel like I might have overreacted some, but I think it's important to help my son understand how what he said was wrong and hurtful.
My aunt and uncle are paying for my cousin's college. My dad had a college fund for me, but he had stipulations like he wanted nothing below a B for grades and to pre-approve any classes I take, weekly meetings to discuss grades, and a bunch of other stuff, which would be fine if you have a normal dad. Mine isn't. My dad has a temper, and I spent 6th, 12th grade stressed out about grades and being screamed at or grounded over things that sometimes weren't even my fault, like a teacher not updating online grading and an assignment being marked missing because of it, and getting my backpack and locker randomly searched by him for no reason besides to make sure I'm not hiding anything. Decided to pay for school myself because of one not being stressed over getting screamed at to. I didn't feel like constantly worrying that he'd disapprove of a class or a grade and decide not to pay, which I could totally see him doing. I'd rather be in debt than controlled for 4 more years. I just finished my 1st year. Well, my family got together on the 4th and, well, sometimes they're nosy. They were talking about my cousin's school, and my uncle looked at my dad and said, "Well, how much is my name school costing you?" I said, "What are you asking him for? I'm the one paying for it." Later on, my dad was pissed off and said that it was out of line to say that, and I embarrassed him. I didn't do it to embarrass him. I was just being honest. He doesn't even know how much tuition is, so he was the wrong person to ask. AITA.
IF30 don't have the best relationship with my husband's mom. Since day one she tried to make remarks and compare me to her. She then tried to get on my good side and started overly praising everything I do and sometimes even copying me, like that one time when she literally dyed her hair purple just like mine, and when everyone pointed out how ridiculous she looked, she actually blamed me and accused me of trying to make a joke out of her. So, anyways, my husband and I took 2 weeks off work to go visit some places out of the country. Tourism, in other words. Thing is, I was the one who saved up for and arranged for the trip. My husband was responsible for booking the tickets. My husband's mom wanted to come along and threw temper tantrums when I said no. She called, texted, sent people to talk to me into letting her come, even threatened to call the police and make some complaint up to get us to stay if she can't come. My husband said we should just take her, but I told him he was wrong to tell her about the trip in the first place. He gave me an ultimatum. Said he wouldn't go if she can't come, and I told him I'd gladly call his bluff, which made him take his words back and say fine. I will tell her to stop it because we won't take her. Things got quieter, suspiciously quieter. The day of the trip came, and we got to the airport at 2 p.m. My husband was walking ahead of me and was looking left and right like he was looking for someone. I asked him, but he didn't respond. He led me to the waiting area, and first thing I saw was his mom standing there with her luggage. I froze in my spot. I felt a cold wave washing over me and I was fuming inside. She and my husband were hugging. That's when I quietly turned around and started walking towards the exit. My husband followed me while shouting at me to stop. He tried to stop me, but I told him off the harshest way possible. He tried to say I was overreacting and that his mom was there anyway and I should let it go and not mess the trip up for us. I told him he and his mom could still go and that I was going home. I went home and sobbed into my dog's fur for several minutes. Turned out, he booked her a ticket without me knowing. An hour later, he came home yelling and raging about how pathetic and spiteful I was to walk out and go home and ruin the trip last minute. I told him he caused this to happen. He said that I was being so hard on his mom, it's ridiculous. I refused to fight anymore, but he kept on berating me, then called my family to tell them that the trip was cancelled and that it was because of me. My family said that I shouldn't have ruined it for myself and should have sucked it up and done my best to enjoy. Did I really overreact?
My 23F wedding was back on Saturday, December 31st, and I'm still getting backlash from this, so I want to know if this was an move. In the country I live in, it's currently winter, and we get a fair amount of snow, so my wedding was a winter-themed wedding. The color theme was forest green and gold. My dress was obviously white, and I chose the color of my bridesmaids' dresses to be forest green as well. My MOH's dress was black, and everyone was to wear gold accessories. I have this friend, we'll call her Kat, that I asked to be one of my bridesmaids. When we went dress shopping and I told them the color theme I was going for, Kat immediately expressed that she thought forest green was a bad choice. She said thinks it's not a flattering color and thought I should choose something different and more girly. I said no because my wedding was winter-themed and I thought the color would go perfect with the theme. She suggested a pink, blue, even a red. I said no, but thanks for your opinion. She found out my MOH's dress was black and asked if she could wear black too. I said no, only my MOH is wearing black. I paid for all the dresses. Fast forward to wedding day, everyone's getting their hair and makeup done, and Kat shows up 30 minutes late holding a bag that looked like it had a dress inside. I asked her what this was for. She told me it was for later on at the reception if she got uncomfortable and wanted to change after pictures. I was like, okay, cool. So fast forward, we're all dressed and walking down the stairs because the ceremony is beginning in 30 minutes, and we were going to take some pictures before. Kat is the last person to come down, and she's wearing a black dress. At the time, I was preoccupied taking pictures with my parents, but my MOH came over to me and made me aware of the situation. I confronted Kat and asked her what was going on. She said she hates her bridesmaid dress, as the color is ugly and makes her look gross, so she's wearing black. I told her please go back and change. She refused and started walking away from me. I said, I'm going to ask her one more time, and if she doesn't oblige, I'm calling security and kicking her out. She began yelling at me to fuck off, so I called security and asked them to please escort her out. She started making a big scene yelling how I'm such a bitch, that I can't force her to wear anything, and that I'm a horrible, inconsiderate friend. The wedding went on, and it was truly amazing. Ever since the wedding, Kat has been blowing up my phone with texts saying some really nasty things and asking for the money back she spent on the black dress, since it was a waste and she didn't get to wear it. I had to block her number. Some of my other bridesmaids have been giving me shit saying that it was a little harsh kicking her out and embarrassing her like that, and that maybe I should give her the money back. AITA for kicking her out? I, 44F, divorced my ex-husband, 47M, 2 years ago and have been dating my boyfriend, 45M, since. No cheating. My ex and I were fighting a lot, but the divorce was less litigious than expected. My ex-husband, James, and I were married for 21 years. In the state of Massachusetts, I, as his ex-spouse, was able to stay on his group health insurance. In addition, the judge ordered that since I stayed home to raise our 4 kids, 21M, 19F, 18M, 16M, that I get alimony for life, or until only I, not my ex, remarried. In terms of health insurance, I'd lose it if either James or I remarried. However, James has been very open about the fact that he hates the idea of marrying again, even more than he hates me, still be covered under his health insurance policy. His exact words were, well, luckily for you, it's not emotionally or financially cost-effective for me to marry just to get you off my health insurance. For the entire length of our marriage, part of the reason I didn't work is because my ex is a doctor, and after doing calculations, we realized I'd never make enough to even get close to covering the childcare costs for 4 kids. I checked and saw that if I had continued my administrative job, I'd be making $17 an hour today. I have no chance of making even that now. My boyfriend and I are very much in love. In many ways, I wish I'd met him first. He's empathetic, and unlike my ex, he values work-life balance instead of running between a private practice and the psych ward at a county hospital to work 24/7. However, my boyfriend and I don't live together, and besides small presents to each other, we pay for ourselves. Things were good, but my boyfriend changed after I had a pregnancy scare. He said that if I get pregnant again, he wants us to be living under one roof and not like two divorced parents. So he proposed. I was upset.
Hi, everyone. I'm 27mm, engaged to my fiancé, 26F, and while we're preparing for our wedding, something recently came up that's left me confused and conflicted. I want to know if I'm in the wrong here or if her reaction is unreasonable. Here's the issue. My fiancé refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex used to sit there. She says it makes her uncomfortable and feels like she's taking what's someone else's. Instead, she insists on sitting in the back seat whenever we go somewhere, which honestly feels strange to me, like I'm her chauffeur. I offered to sell the car if it truly bothers her, but she told me not to, because it would feel like she's forcing me to do something. However, she still won't sit in the front seat and avoids interacting with anything related to my past relationships. This is part of a bigger pattern. She's mentioned multiple times that she doesn't want to do things I've done with my ex, like cuddling on the couch during a movie or visiting places I've been to before. I've tried to be understanding of her feelings, but I'm starting to feel like I'm being held responsible for my past, which I can't change. It's also confusing because she keeps in touch with her own ex, occasionally texting or calling him, which I have no issue with as I trust her. Whenever these situations come up, she tends to withdraw emotionally, avoiding physical affection, not saying goodnight or being distant. While I love her and want to work through this, I'm starting to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her emotions, especially when they're tied to things I can't control, like my past. My fiancé refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex sat there and avoids doing things I did with my ex. I offered to sell the car, but she doesn't want me to, even though she won't engage with it. Am I the asshole for not selling the car and thinking her behavior is unreasonable?
So I, 29F, recently gave birth to my first child, a beautiful baby girl. My husband, 31M, and I spent months deliberating over the perfect name for her. We're both into mythology and literature, and we wanted a name that felt unique but also meaningful. After a lot of back and forth, we settled on Nyxerin, pronounced Nyxerin. It's a combination of Nyx, the Greek goddess of the night, and Irina, which means peace in Greek. We thought it sounded poetic, strong, and unique. I shared the name with my family a few weeks before she was born, and the reactions were mixed. Some of them thought it was cool and different, but others were clearly taken aback. My mom said it was a mouthful, and my sister-in-law, 34F, was silent for a while before saying, "Well, it's interesting." The real drama started at a family dinner after the baby was born. My aunt, 62F, who is never shy about her opinions, asked me what we ended up naming our daughter. When I told her, she immediately burst into laughter, like a full-on cackle. I was taken aback and asked what was so funny, and she said, "You seriously named your kid that? Poor child, you've practically cursed her with that name." I tried to keep my cool and asked what she meant, and she went on a rant about how Nyxerin is a made-up weird name that would just make my daughter's life harder. She said that she would be bullied in school, that no one would ever spell it right, and that we were trying too hard to be unique. She even went so far as to call me selfish for giving her a name like that and said I was setting her up for a life of frustration. I snapped back, saying that it's our baby and our choice of name and that she should respect it. She then accused me of being sensitive and said I wouldn't last in the real world if I couldn't handle a little feedback. The whole dinner turned awkward, and my husband and I ended up leaving early. Now I'm starting to second-guess myself. My mom said my aunt was... Most nights after dinner, I eat a small ice cream cone. It's literally the little Joy mini cups with a teeny scoop of ice cream. Maybe a big scoop if I'm having a rough day, but that's kind of rare. I don't drink alcohol or smoke weed or do anything fun, so this is my one fun thing I do for myself. My brother and his wife and daughter are staying with me for a few weeks. They'll be gone by June 15th. I'm happy to have them here. Usually we'll eat dinner together and go our separate ways for the evening. They watch a lot of TV, so they're usually all in the living room watching. I've been eating my Lil cone, but my sister-in-law approached me and asked me if I could stop. She said that my niece is starting to ask why she doesn't get to have ice cream, and that obviously she was lied to by my sister-in-law when she told her ice cream is a sometimes food, ha ha ha. I said that I wasn't going to stop, but I could wait until she was in bed. I figured that was a good compromise, and I do get that she's trying to raise her little girl to have a healthy relationship with food. But waiting until she was in bed didn't work, because she came into the kitchen multiple times to ask me for some. My Esil was definitely a little incredulous over it and kept saying, "Really? Do you seriously need to eat ice cream every single day?" Or stuff like it. I said no, but she also doesn't need to drink a glass of wine every day either. She didn't like this and sighed a bunch and has been visibly annoyed with me since then. My brother asked me if I could stop just to avoid the drama, but I said I deserve my little treats. AITA? Hi, so I've decided to log off this post and not come back. This post has just gotten completely out of control with really over-the-top overreactions, and people trying to encourage me to make things worse or escalate and call my Sil an alcoholic, or to purposely eat more ice cream in front of my niece. Some of you are just like chomping at the bit to call people names and be sarcastic and nasty to me for no reason. That's not really what I was expecting, and we're not allowed to delete. I, 50F, and my husband, 48M, have a daughter, Danica, 21F, who has been extremely independent her whole life. Danica began working when she was 15, and now she works part-time for a large corporation while pursuing her studies. We are extremely proud of her and how hard she has worked. We generally allow her to manage her own finances, and she insists on contributing monthly to family expenses with the money she earns. Danica occasionally likes to make pricier purchases, which I do not have any concern over, as I think they are sensible financial choices. Like last year, she decided to purchase the newest MacBook as her old laptop was on its last leg, and she wanted something reliable and long-lasting, or when she bought a Marc Jacobs bag for work and university. We recently went on a family trip with my brother and his family, who have 2 kids of their own, Tammy, 20F, and Nick, 23M. His kids and Danica aren't exactly close, but they get along fine for the most part. I know that Tammy and Nick do not have any source of income besides my brother and have not worked a day in their life. During the trip, Danica would occasionally pay for the 3 of them for small things like drinks or food. When we were shopping, Danica bought a few items for herself and picked up gifts she wanted to bring back to her friends. During dinner that night, my sister-in-law, brother's wife, told my husband and me that we were spoiling Danica too much with her purchases. We explained that Danica earned her own money, and every cent came from her job. Sister-in-law then proceeded to point and tell Danica that if that was the case, she shouldn't be flaunting her purchases and items in front of her cousins, who don't have a cushy little office job, and parents who spoiled her into the person she is. Danica apologized politely, saying that she didn't mean to flaunt her things, but I could tell that she was upset and embarrassed. My husband stood up and shot back, saying that Danica shouldn't have to apologize for her own hard work. I also pointed out that Danica has been financially independent since she was 15, and that we've always done our best not to spoil her. Sister-in-law then proceeded to tell us that we weren't teaching her how to manage her finances correctly, and that all this money had turned her into a little brat. Danica excused herself to the bathroom and texted that she had gone back to the hotel. We had a tense back and forth for the rest of the dinner, and we came back to finding Danica crying in her hotel room. I call my brother, hoping that he is able to talk to his wife, but he explained that for the past few days, Tammy had been crying to her parents about not having what Danica had. She had been whining to her mom that she wanted the newest MacBook as well, but she refused to get it for her. Myself, Danica, and my husband have been getting calls from the rest of the family, some calling us a-holes and some who were willing to hear us out and understand where we were coming from. So, AITA?
I, 23 male, broke up with my boyfriend, 25 male, of 2 years last night, and now I'm wondering if I overreacted. My cousin, 29F, just got married to her wife, 28F, in this beautiful ceremony. They're the first queer couple in our family to get married, and it meant a lot to me personally. Growing up, I didn't even know if I'd be allowed to be out, let alone see 2 women I love and admire stand up and be celebrated. My boyfriend, we'll call him Zach, came with me. He's met most of my family before and everything seemed fine. During the reception, things got emotional. A few people gave unplanned toasts, and my cousin asked if I wanted to say something. I kept it short, just said how proud I was, how beautiful it was to see queer love honored like that. That was it. When I sat down, Zach leaned over and quietly whispered, "You know, for someone who's not even in the wedding, you're really trying to make it your moment." I thought he was joking and gave him a look. Then he added something along the lines of, "You gonna cry again, or save it for our wedding that we're never having?" He smirked like it was nothing. I laughed awkwardly, because I didn't want to cause a scene and ruin my cousin's wedding. But it stuck with me. I didn't say anything right away because it was not the time or place. I didn't want to make the night about me or create any drama. Later, back at our hotel, I brought it up. I said his comment hurt, especially since he knows how much this wedding meant to me. He brushed it off, saying, "Jesus, you're still on that? It was a joke. You were getting so sappy I thought you were going to propose." I told him I didn't think it was funny and that he took a moment that mattered to me and made me feel stupid for caring. He kept calling me sensitive and said I was overthinking everything, like always. So I told him I was done. I packed my stuff, called a friend, and left. He's texted since, saying I made a scene out of nothing, that I chose a weird hill to die on, and that I'll regret throwing away a good thing over a dumb joke. AITA?
AITA for ruining my sister's gender reveal by announcing my pregnancy. Plus update. Okay, so this literally exploded, and now my entire family is completely divided and dragging me on Facebook, so here we go. I'm 29 years old, and I found out I was pregnant a few weeks ago after going through a very long and emotional fertility journey. I'm talking 4 years of trying, 2 heartbreaking miscarriages, multiple rounds of IVF, and just a lot of tears, stress, and doctor visits. My husband and I were absolutely over the moon when we finally got the good news, but we decided to keep it private until I hit the 12-week mark, and now I'm 13 weeks in. Meanwhile, my younger sister, who's 26, is 20 weeks pregnant, and last weekend she hosted this massive gender reveal party. She went all out with a balloon arch, custom cookies, color-coded Team Boy and Team Girl t-shirts, a professional photographer, and even hired a DJ. I wasn't planning to say anything about my pregnancy at the event because obviously it was her moment and I wanted to respect that. But during the party, a few family members came up to me and pulled me aside, saying things like, "You're glowing, are you pregnant?" And I responded honestly and casually with, "Yeah, actually I am, but we're keeping it low-key for now." Apparently someone overheard that little conversation and started whispering it around, because by the time the cake was cut, and it was blue, by the way, my aunt, who'd had a few drinks, shouted loudly, "Double the babies in this?" "Family! Congrats to both moms-to-be!" And the whole room kind of gasped. My sister's face dropped instantly. She pulled me into the bathroom and absolutely lost it, saying I was selfish, that I stole her thunder, and that I always have to make things about me, which felt like a low blow, especially considering I've literally spent years dealing with infertility while she got pregnant twice without even trying. I tried to explain that I didn't plan for the news to come out and that I only told the truth when asked directly, but she wasn't having it. She stormed out of her own party early and hasn't spoken to me since. My mom told me I should have just denied it when people asked and kept the focus on my sister, but my dad says she's being overly dramatic and needs to calm down. Now I feel like absolute crap, and to make things worse, people in our family are posting passive-aggressive things online about attention seekers and stealing spotlight moments without naming names. But obviously, I know it's about me. So, am I the a-hole for not lying when someone asked me if I was pregnant? Or is my sister completely overreacting? Update. So, I wasn't planning on posting an update, but after getting bombarded with texts, tagged in weird Facebook quotes, and now even being uninvited from a family brunch, I feel like I have to clear the air. Or at least vent somewhere that isn't a group chat full of shade. After the gender reveal disaster, I gave my sister space. I didn't want to escalate things. I even texted her a long, sincere apology explaining that I never meant to steal her moment, that I was just answering a question honestly, and that I truly hoped she could still be excited for both of us. She left me on red for 3 days. Then, and I swear I wish I was joking, she posted a soft launch rant on her Instagram stories. It was a black background with white text that said, "Some people just can't handle not being the center of attention, Even during the happiest moments of your life, watch who you let into your celebrations. Followed by a quote slide that literally said, "Not everyone is clapping when you win." My DMs blew. Up cousins asking, "Is this about you?" Family friends texting, "Drama already?" Even people from my IVF support group saw it and messaged me saying, "Girl, are you okay?" So I decided to take the high road, or at least, the medium road. I posted a photo of my ultrasound with a caption that said, "We waited so long for this little miracle. Not perfect timing, just perfect love." It was calm, peaceful, no names, just joy. And that's when everything exploded. My sister called me and finally let it all out. She accused me of weaponizing sympathy, said I was playing the infertility card to guilt people, and told me I had intentionally sabotaged her special day. I told her I was tired of being treated like my joy has to come with conditions, like I can only be happy if she's not celebrating something too. It ended with her hanging up on me and then texting the whole family group chat saying she's going no contact until people learn how to respect boundaries. So now my family is completely split. Some people are team, "You both deserve happiness." Others are team, "OP should have kept her mouth shut." And then there's my grandma, who just wants everyone to come to Sunday dinner like nothing happened and make lasagna. Anyway, I didn't want this to become a family war. I just wanted to be excited about finally being pregnant. But now I feel like I'm stuck between celebrating my baby and surviving this weird spotlight-stealing accusation. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Still wondering, AITA for not playing small just to keep the peace?